Welcome to Section 6 of the ASC 718 Stock-Based Compensation Training Series. In this section, we cover three closely related topics: how to account for changes to existing awards, what happens when awards are canceled, and how stock-based compensation affects earnings per share calculations. Let's get started. By the end of this section, you will be able to define what counts as a modification under a SC 718 and apply the incremental fair value model. You will identify how common scenarios such as repricing and vesting extensions are treated. You will distinguish between a canceled award that is replaced and one that is simply forfeited. And you will calculate the dilutive share impact of options and RSUs using the Treasury stock method. Under a SC 718, a modification is any change to the terms or conditions of an existing stock-based compensation award. This is a broad definition. It covers obvious changes like lowering the exercise price of an option, but it also covers extending a vesting period, easing a performance target, or accelerating vesting when an employee leaves the company. The key point is that the modification date becomes the new measurement date for any incremental value created by the change. The incremental fair value model is the core measurement tool for modification accounting. You calculate the fair value of the modified award and subtract the fair value of the original award, with both measurements taken at the modification date. This is important. You do not use the original grant date fair value of the old award. Even if the original award was deeply out of the money and worth nearly nothing on the modification date, the incremental value is still the modified fair value minus that near-zero original fair value. The resulting incremental amount is recognized as additional compensation expense over the shorter of the remaining vesting period of the original award, or the vesting period of the modified award. Repricing is one of the most common modification scenarios. A company's stock price has fallen and employee options are underwater, meaning the exercise price is above the current market price. The company decides to lower the exercise price to remotivate employees. On the modification date, you measure the fair value of the repriced option with the new lower strike and subtract the fair value of the original option with the higher strike. That difference is the incremental value you must recognize as additional expense. Both the original unrecognized grant date cost and this new incremental amount continue to be amortized over the remaining vesting period. Beyond repricing, several other changes trigger modification accounting. If a vesting period is extended but all other terms stay the same, the incremental fair value is typically small or zero because the additional time does not add much value to the option holder. If a performance target is made easier, for example a revenue hurdle is lowered, more awards are expected to vest, which likely creates positive incremental value. And when an employee is terminated and vesting is accelerated, any remaining unrecognized expense on the unvested portion must be recognized immediately on the modification date, rather than spread over the original vesting schedule. When an award is canceled and no replacement is issued, a SC 718 requires you to recognize any remaining unrecognized compensation expense immediately at the cancellation date. You do not continue to amortize it over the would-be remaining vesting period. This is a common error, particularly when employees are terminated and their unvested awards are forfeited. The correct treatment is to stop amortizing and record the remaining balance as expense at the point of cancellation. The logic is that the service condition has effectively failed, and the company is no longer receiving future service that would justify spreading that cost forward. When an award is canceled and replaced with a new award at the same time, a SC 718 treats the transaction as a modification rather than a true cancellation. You apply the incremental fair value model, Measure the fair value of the new award and subtract the fair value of the canceled award, both at the transaction date. The timing and linkage between the cancellation and the new grant are critical. If the two events are clearly connected, they are treated as a modification. This distinction matters because modification accounting preserves the original grant date cost plus any incremental amount, while a true cancellation accelerates any remaining unrecognized expense immediately. Stock-based compensation awards affect the denominator of the earnings per share calculation. Unvested options, stock appreciation rights or SARs, and other in-the-money awards are potentially dilutive securities. Including them in diluted EPS reflects the potential for these instruments to convert into actual shares. However, options that are out of the money are antidilutive, meaning including them would actually increase earnings per share rather than reduce it, so they are excluded from the diluted calculation. Restricted stock units, which have no exercise price, are always dilutive when unvested. The treasury stock method is the standard approach for calculating how many net new shares options would add to the diluted share count. The logic works in 4 steps. First, you assume all in-the-money options are exercised at the beginning of the reporting period. Second, you calculate the total proceeds the company would receive from those exercises, using the exercise price. Third, you assume the company uses those proceeds to repurchase shares in the open market at the average market price for the period. Fourth, the net dilutive shares added to the denominator equal the shares issued on exercise minus the shares bought back with the proceeds. Let's walk through a concrete example. A company has 100,000 options outstanding with an exercise price of $20 per share. The average market price during the period is $30 per share. Under the treasury stock method, we first assume all 100,000 options are exercised, generating proceeds of $2 million. That is 100,000 multiplied by $20. Next, we assume those $2 million are used to repurchase shares at the average market price of $30, which buys back 66,667 shares. The net addition to the diluted share denominator is 100,000 minus 66,667, which equals 33,333 shares. Because the market price is above the exercise price, options are in the money and dilutive. Restricted stock units work differently from options in the treasury stock method because they have no exercise price. When you assume RSUs vest at the beginning of the period, the company receives no cash proceeds from that vesting. Without proceeds, there are no shares to repurchase, so there is no offset. Every unvested RSU share is added directly and in full to the diluted share denominator. For performance-based RSUs, you only include them if the performance condition is considered probable of being achieved as of the end of the reporting period. This is consistent with how performance conditions are evaluated throughout ASC 718. Let's recap the key points from this section. A modification is any change to the terms or conditions of an award, and you measure incremental fair value by comparing the modified and original award fair values both at the modification date, not the original grant date. When an award is canceled with no replacement, any remaining unrecognized expense is recognized immediately. Do not continue amortizing. When a cancellation and replacement happen together, treat the transaction as a modification. For EPS, the treasury stock method calculates net dilutive shares by assuming exercise proceeds are used to repurchase shares at the average market price, while RSUs add their full share count with no offset. Thank you for completing this section on modifications, cancellations, and the EPS impact of stock-based compensation. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more training from P&J Group.